There is a truth that has been whispered across centuries, a truth hidden not in the noise of the world, but in the silence of the heart. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This is not a casual observation, nor a poetic metaphor. It is the law of life itself. The subconscious mind, vast and impartial, creates your reality based upon what is impressed upon it. It does not argue, it does not reason, it does not reject, it accepts, and what it accepts, it expresses. This is why the scriptures declare that out of the heart flow the issues of life. When you think wealth in your heart, when you feel abundance not as a wish but as a fact, you become the living embodiment of prosperity, and the world begins to reflect your inner decree with exact precision. Consider for a moment that your conscious mind is like a sower walking through a fertile field. Every thought you plant, whether it is a seed of abundance or a seed of lack, finds its way into the soil of the subconscious. The soil does not discriminate between good and bad, between fruitful and poisonous. It accepts the seed, waters it with your emotions, and gives it form. If you constantly impress your subconscious with thoughts of scarcity, of fear, of financial struggle, you will harvest those very conditions. But when you impress it with images of wealth, gratitude, and divine supply, the subconscious will bring forth prosperity in ways that transcend logic and calculation. Wealth, then, is not something to chase outside of you. Wealth is the harvest of the seeds you allow to take root within. It is essential to understand that wealth is not a matter of coins and currency alone. True wealth is an inner state, a consciousness of abundance that overflows into every department of life. You can have money yet be impoverished in joy, in peace, in health. And you can have little by the world's standards yet walk as a prince of infinite supply, because your inner life is rich with harmony and divine wisdom. But when you unite both the external expression of financial success with the internal foundation of abundance, you experience prosperity in its highest and holiest form. This unity begins when you stop thinking of wealth as distant or difficult, and instead affirm it as present, available, and already yours in the unseen. For what is unseen shall soon be seen, and what is impressed shall soon be expressed. Look deeply into your own experience. How many times have you allowed fear of loss to dominate your thinking? How often have you secretly rehearsed images of failure or poverty, only to find your life echoing them in subtle or dramatic ways? This is no accident. The subconscious is the faithful mirror of your inner convictions. If your inner dialogue is one of doubt, the mirror will reflect lack. If your inner dialogue is one of expectancy, the mirror will reflect abundance. This is why Murphy declared, "What is impressed is expressed." Write that on your paper now. Engrave it in your memory. What is impressed is expressed. The law cannot be broken, and the man who grasps this law holds the key to transformation. Wealth begins in imagination. The subconscious accepts images more powerfully than words, for it operates in the language of symbols, feelings, and pictures. When you visualize yourself living in abundance, when you see yourself free, joyful, generous, and wise, the subconscious takes that image as a command. Just as a ship's crew follows the captain's orders without questioning, your subconscious begins to move the hidden forces of life in alignment with your picture. Doors you never imagined open. Ideas you had never considered spring forth. People, opportunities, and resources flow toward you as if summoned by unseen hands. But when you picture yourself as impoverished, when you allow envy, bitterness, or doubt to dominate your imagination, you command the same power to construct barriers and misfortune. You are always impressing the mind, always building your future. The only question is, are you building riches or ruins? This is why belief is the cornerstone. Belief is not a shallow agreement of the intellect. It is the deep emotional conviction impressed upon the subconscious. You may say with your lips that you are prosperous, but if in your heart you feel fear and lack, the subconscious receives lack as the dominant seed. To believe in wealth is to feel it in your bones, to know it as present before it appears. It is to walk in gratitude for riches unseen, confident they are already moving toward you. This kind of belief is magnetic. It draws to you the exact conditions, opportunities, and relationships necessary for its fulfillment. The law of life is the law of belief. Say it aloud. Write it down. The law of life is the law of belief. What you believe emotionally and subconsciously, you will inevitably experience. Now you may ask, how does one begin to recondition the heart for wealth, when years of fear and poverty thinking have taken root? The answer is repetition, imagination, and feeling. Repetition creates grooves in the subconscious. What you affirm with feeling day after day becomes fixed in the inner mind. Begin each morning and end each night with words that impress abundance upon your subconscious. Say with authority, I am one with wealth and wisdom, free of fear, free of doubt. Do not mutter it with indifference, declare it with the certainty of a decree. Imagine yourself already living in freedom, already walking in plenty, already blessing others with generosity. Feel it, for feeling is the key that unlocks the subconscious door. Combine the affirmation with the picture and the emotion, and you will reprogram your destiny. There is no such thing as luck. There is only law. The man who understands law no longer drifts on the currents of chance, but sails directly to his harbor of destiny. The law of wealth is simple. What you think and feel consistently in your heart, you become. Therefore, guard your inner speech. Stop rehearsing failure. Stop entertaining envy. Stop speaking words of lack. For every word you speak, every image you dwell upon, is a seed falling into the soil of your mind. Why sow weeds when you can sow gardens? Why imagine chains when you can imagine crowns? Life will always give you the harvest of your secret meditations. Choose wisely what you sow. There is a river of divine abundance that flows ceaselessly, and you are a channel for its current. But if you clog the channel with fear, resentment, and doubt, the river is dammed within you. Remove the obstructions, and the river flows in torrents, blessing not only yourself, but everyone around you. The wealth you manifest is never for you alone. It is for the circulation of life. To hoard is to stagnate, but to give is to multiply. See yourself as a vessel of divine riches, overflowing with wisdom, generosity, and supply. The universe abhors vacuum. When you release with gratitude, more flows back to you in perfect measure. Thus affirm your wealth, not merely for selfish gain, but for the expansion of life itself. So I tell you tonight, engrave upon the tablet of your heart a new decree. Speak it aloud now, with faith and expectancy. I am one with wealth and wisdom, free of fear and doubt. Let those words sink deep into the soil of your subconscious. Write them upon your paper. Repeat them until they burn with conviction. This is not suggestion, this is creation. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the man who thinks in his heart of wealth becomes the living magnet of prosperity. This is the law, this is the truth, and this is your new beginning. Your subconscious mind is the book of life, and every thought you inscribe upon it becomes a line written in the story of your destiny. This is why Jesus said, according to your faith be it unto you. Faith is not merely religious sentiment, it is the deep impression of belief upon the subconscious mind. When you believe in lack, lack becomes your story. When you believe in abundance, abundance writes itself across the pages of your life. The subconscious does not judge or question. It obeys the blueprint it is given, and the blueprint you hand it is constructed by your dominant thoughts, emotions, and images. This is why the wise man guards his heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. You are holding the pen, and the subconscious is the obedient parchment. What script are you authoring today? You must therefore become deliberate in the language you speak to yourself. Never finish a negative sentence. Never seal into your subconscious the poison of defeat by saying, I can't afford this, or I will never succeed. The moment such a thought arises, reverse it immediately and affirm the opposite. Say with certainty, I can afford all things through the infinite supply within me. Declare, I am born to succeed. These are not idle words, they are commands impressed upon the deepest levels of your being. Just as a ship turns its massive body by the simple turning of a rudder, your life can pivot entirely by the direction of your inner speech. One affirmation can outweigh 100 doubts if it is charged with conviction and repeated until it takes root. Guard your words, for they are seeds. Plant only those that you wish to see blossom. Let us take an example. A man comes to me, consumed with fear of poverty. His father had failed in business, and the echoes of that failure haunted him. He unconsciously expected the same pattern, and so, despite his intelligence, he found doors closing and opportunities slipping away. I told him the truth. He was not cursed by fate, but conditioned by belief. He had written into his subconscious the sentence, I will fail as my father failed. I gave him a new decree to repeat daily. Wealth flows to me freely. Success is mine now. Divine abundance surrounds me. He repeated it morning and night, imagining himself already living in abundance. Slowly his fear was erased. Within months he secured contracts and partnerships that lifted him into prosperity. Nothing external had changed until the internal belief changed first. This is the law. What is impressed is expressed. Wealth is never created by anxious grasping. Anxiety is resistance. The man who fears poverty magnetizes it. The man who walks in calm expectancy attracts prosperity. The subconscious does not respond to frantic pleading. It responds to serene conviction. Imagine planting a seed and then digging it up every hour to see if it has sprouted. Would it ever grow? No, the seed requires rest, time, and trust. So too your subconscious requires that you impress your idea and then leave it undisturbed, trusting it to germinate in silence. When you plant the seed of wealth and release it with faith, you are cooperating with the rhythm of the universe. The harvest will come in due season. Impatience uproots the seed. Faith waters it. Some may object and say, but look at the economy, look at the conditions, look at the obstacles before me. To this I say, conditions are effects, not causes. Every condition in your life is the shadow cast by your inner state. You are not a victim of circumstances. Circumstances are the mirrors of your inner consciousness. The law of correspondence states, as within, so without. When you adjust the within, the without must adjust. If you continue to battle shadows without addressing the light within, you will forever be fighting phantoms. But if you flood your inner life with light, affirmations of abundance, visions of prosperity, feelings of gratitude, the shadows vanish of their own accord. External facts are but clay. The potter's hand is your thought. Understand also the role of imagination in this great work. Imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the workshop of creation. Everything that exists in this world, every building, every invention, every fortune, first existed in the imagination of someone who dared to believe. Your subconscious takes imagination as fact. When you vividly imagine yourself living in wealth, when you feel the emotions of abundance as though it were real now, your subconscious accepts it as a command. It begins to organize your inner resources, your habits, your perceptions, and even the opportunities around you to align with that image. This is why visualization, when practiced with faith and emotion, is the golden key to wealth. What you consistently imagine with feeling, you will inevitably express in form. Let us engrave a decree into the mind together now. Say these words with me, not as empty sounds, but as if they were carved into the fabric of your soul. I am a free-flowing channel of divine abundance. Wealth, health, and success are released from within me and appear without. Write this on your paper. Repeat it each day. Allow the words to echo in your mind until they become part of your inner atmosphere. As you do, you are impressing the subconscious with a new identity. You are declaring yourself a vessel of infinite supply, and the subconscious, faithful and impartial, will express this identity in your world. Remember always that wealth is not acquired by chance, but by law. There are those who stumble upon riches by inheritance or accident, yet because they lack the consciousness of wealth, they soon lose it. The lottery winner often returns to poverty because his subconscious still clings to scarcity. But the man who builds wealth in his heart, even if stripped of all possessions, will recreate it again and again, because the wealth is not in the bank account but in the subconscious blueprint. To become wealthy in heart is to become wealthy forever. The outer fortune is but a reflection of the inner fortune. The truth is simple yet profound. Every man is living in the house of his beliefs. Some dwell in mansions of abundance, others in shacks of limitation. The walls are built by thought, the roof by imagination, the foundation by belief. But every man is also the architect, and at any moment he may choose to design a new dwelling. What house are you building within? Poverty or prosperity? Fear or faith? Lack or abundance? The choice is always yours, and the subconscious will build according to your blueprint. Therefore construct wisely, construct nobly, construct as one who knows he is one with infinite supply. Say it again with me now, and let it sink into the fertile soil of your heart. I am a free-flowing channel of divine abundance. Wealth, health, and success are released from within me and appear without. Let those words echo beyond this moment. Let them rewire the very structure of your being. For as a man thinketh in his heart of wealth, so is he. And the man who thinks abundantly becomes abundance itself, walking as a living testimony to the law of belief and the infinite riches of the divine. There is a power within you that is greater than any financial system, any employer, any circumstance. That power is the subconscious mind, the creative medium of the spirit, which responds unfailingly to the beliefs impressed upon it. You may think that wealth is controlled by markets, governments, or chance, but the real determinant of prosperity is the image you hold of yourself in your inner sanctuary. If you secretly identify with lack, no amount of external effort will free you from struggle, for you will unconsciously sabotage, repel, or overlook the very opportunities that lead to abundance. But if you inwardly identify as prosperous, even in the face of adversity, the subconscious will bring to you the ideas, people, and resources necessary for the manifestation of wealth. This is why the rich grow richer, not by injustice alone, but because their consciousness has been conditioned to expect prosperity, while the poor often remain poor because their hearts rehearse images of deprivation. The law is impersonal. It delivers to every man the harvest of his inner seed. Think of your subconscious as the soil, and your conscious thoughts as the sower. Whatever seed you consistently plant, the soil accepts without question and multiplies. If you continually sow thoughts of financial hardship, the subconscious will yield a harvest of limitation. But if you deliberately sow thoughts of abundance, gratitude, and success, the subconscious produces conditions to match. The soil does not argue with the sower. It only reflects what it has been given. This is why you must become vigilant with the seeds you cast into the field of your mind. Every day you are planting, whether you know it or not. The only question is whether you are planting weeds of fear or gardens of prosperity. Decide today to sow only what you desire to reap. Let us look at a striking example. A young woman came to me convinced that she was doomed to remain poor because her parents had lived in constant scarcity. She had internalized the belief that poverty was her inheritance. But I told her that the only true inheritance is the state of mind you choose to carry. She began to affirm daily, "I am heir to the riches of the infinite. Wealth flows to me freely. I am surrounded by abundance." She visualized herself traveling, dressing elegantly, living in comfort. At first her reason mocked these affirmations, but she persisted until the subconscious accepted them. Within a year, opportunities opened that placed her in a position of financial independence, and she was married to a man who shared her new consciousness of prosperity. The subconscious mind, once reconditioned, had rewritten her destiny. This is the law of life in action.
Your words are creative decrees. When you say "I can't afford it," you are commanding the subconscious to make it so. When you say money is scarce, you are affirming limitation into existence. But when you declare, "I am open and receptive to divine riches, abundance is mine now," you are impressing a new pattern upon the subconscious, which will then organize reality to fulfill it. Never underestimate the authority of your tongue. It is the rudder of destiny. Stop cursing your finances with words of fear. Begin blessing them with words of faith. Life and death, wealth and poverty, are in the power of the tongue, and the subconscious carries out every decree with perfect fidelity.
Understand also that wealth is more than accumulation. It is circulation. The miser who hoards wealth out of fear is as poor as the man who has nothing, for both are enslaved to lack, one by absence, the other by distrust. True wealth flows. It moves like a river, blessing both giver and receiver. When you give with joy, you affirm that you have more than enough, and the subconscious multiplies your supply. When you withhold in fear, you affirm scarcity, and the subconscious diminishes your supply. Giving and receiving are but two ends of the same current. See yourself as a channel, not a reservoir. When you release with gratitude, the river of abundance returns to you pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Now let us turn to imagination once more, for it is the womb of creation. Every night before sleep, picture yourself already in possession of the wealth you desire. See it vividly. Feel it deeply. Walk in the house you long for. Sit at the table of plenty. Give generously to those in need. Rejoice in financial freedom. Do not merely see these images as spectators. Enter into them as participants. The subconscious takes these rehearsals as present facts, and while you sleep, it goes to work, arranging the details of your life to bring them into manifestation. Sleep is the golden hour of programming. Use it wisely. Plant seeds of abundance in the night, and you will reap harvests of prosperity in the day. It is not enough to think wealth in fleeting moments. It must become your dominant state. Just as a musician must practice until the notes flow effortlessly, you must practice wealth consciousness until it becomes second nature. This requires discipline, repetition, and faith. Begin your mornings with affirmations of prosperity. Throughout the day, reject every negative suggestion and replace it with a positive decree. End your nights with visions of abundance. Over time, this constant impression reshapes the subconscious, and once the inner mold is changed, the outer conditions must conform. The universe cannot deny the pattern held within. It must express what has been impressed. Say with me now, and write it boldly upon your paper. I am heir to the infinite riches of the divine. Wealth flows to me freely and abundantly. I live in the consciousness of supply. Feel those words, let them resonate through your being. Do not whisper them with doubt, declare them with conviction. Each repetition is a stroke of the sculptor's chisel, shaping the statue of your destiny. Continue until the old image of poverty crumbles and a new image of prosperity stands in its place. This is the secret. This is the law. This is the power given to you. Remember, wealth is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the vibration of your inner state. You become a magnet, drawing to yourself all that resonates with your belief. Just as iron filings rush to a magnet, so do ideas, opportunities, and resources rush to the man who believes in abundance. The magnet does not run after the filings. It attracts them effortlessly by the law of its nature. You too can live by this effortless magnetism if only you will align your inner belief with wealth. The work is within, and the results are without. So engrave this law upon your heart. As you think in your heart of wealth, so shall it be in your life. You are not a beggar of circumstances. You are the heir of divine abundance. Choose today to think richly, to speak richly, to imagine richly. And life will mirror your choice with unfailing accuracy. Affirm now with all the power of your being, I am heir to the infinite riches of the divine. Wealth flows to me freely and abundantly. I live in the consciousness of supply. This is your decree. This is your truth. And this is the foundation of your prosperity. The law of belief is relentless, and it operates whether you are aware of it or not. If you believe in failure, your subconscious will express failure. If you believe in prosperity, your subconscious will express prosperity. The universe does not reward ignorance. It mirrors conviction. This is why two men standing side by side in the same city, working in the same conditions, can live in entirely different worlds. One is poor, the other rich. One sees closed doors, the other open doors. The difference is not in the world outside, but in the beliefs they carry within. The one who lives in lack has secretly accepted that he is unworthy of abundance, and the subconscious, impartial and obedient, reflects that belief in his life. The one who lives in abundance has accepted his divine inheritance, and the subconscious just as faithfully expresses that truth in tangible form. You must therefore examine the inner conversations you have with yourself. Are they conversations of defeat or of victory? When you walk through a store and see something desirable, do you whisper within, I can't afford it? If so, you are sealing into your subconscious the command to block supply. Or do you say, it is possible, it belongs to me in divine order? This is the difference between poverty consciousness and prosperity consciousness. The words you repeat in secret determine the conditions you meet in public. There is no escape from this law. Life is a mirror that never lies. The world is showing you the photograph of your inner self. Change the photograph, and the image on the screen of space changes with it. One of the greatest obstacles to wealth is resentment. Many people secretly resent the rich, and in so doing, they block themselves from prosperity. The subconscious interprets resentment as rejection. If you resent the wealthy, you are telling your subconscious wealth is undesirable, wealth is hateful, wealth is wrong, and so it will keep wealth far from you, for it believes you truly do not want it. But when you bless the wealthy, when you rejoice in their prosperity, you are affirming to your subconscious that wealth is good, wealth is desirable, wealth is divine. In turn, your own life will open to receive it. Never curse what you desire to attract. Instead, bless it. Say quietly when you see success, that is for me too. I rejoice in their good and I claim mine now. Let us engrave a new decree to dissolve the poison of resentment. Say aloud with me now, I rejoice in the wealth of others. I attract riches with love and wisdom. Abundance belongs to us all. Write these words on your paper and let them sink deep into your heart. Repeat them whenever envy or resentment stirs, until joy replaces bitterness. For what you bless expands, and what you curse flees from you. Align your emotions with gratitude and goodwill, and the law of circulation will carry wealth into your hands. Another chain that binds men to poverty is fear. Fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of responsibility. But fear is simply faith in the wrong direction. It is the belief that evil is more powerful than good, that limitation is stronger than abundance. Fear is the great robber of wealth, for it paralyzes the imagination, stifles initiative, and repels opportunities. To overcome fear, you must replace it with faith. Faith is not blind optimism. It is the knowledge that the infinite source is within you, unfailing and inexhaustible. When fear whispers, you cannot, let faith declare, I can through the power of the infinite. When fear says, you will fail, let faith reply, success is mine now, for the divine cannot fail. Fear flees in the presence of conviction. There's a woman I once counseled who lived in constant fear of poverty. Every bill filled her with dread, every expense with anxiety. She unknowingly impressed her subconscious with the idea that money was always slipping away, and life faithfully echoed her fear with endless shortages. I instructed her to begin affirming daily, I am supplied in all ways. The riches of the infinite flow to me ceaselessly. I have more than enough. At first she repeated it mechanically, but with persistence and emotion the new pattern sank in. Soon unexpected channels of supply opened. Gifts, promotions, opportunities came to her without strain. Her fear dissolved into confidence, and her life mirrored her new belief. This is the law. What you fear, you attract. What you believe, you experience. Choose belief, not fear. It is crucial to train your mind to think from the end. Instead of worrying how wealth will appear, picture yourself already in possession of it. Live in the assumption that it is done. Feel the joy, the security, the generosity of abundance as if it were already fact. The subconscious accepts what you imagine as present reality. When you think from the end appears. This is the power of faith, to see the invisible and call it forth into visibility. Think of yourself not as a seeker of wealth, but as one already wealthy, already abundant, already free. And life will reorganize itself to make your assumption visible. Now I invite you to affirm with me a decree of victory over fear and lack. Say it with power, I am supplied in all ways. The riches of the infinite flow to me ceaselessly. I have more than enough. Write it boldly and let it become the drumbeat of your heart. Each repetition is not mere sound, but a seed planted in the soil of your subconscious. And the soil, faithful as ever, will produce the harvest in due season. You cannot plant this seed without reaping its fruit. Such is the certainty of divine law. Finally, remember that prosperity is not selfish. You do not enrich yourself at the expense of others. You align with abundance that enriches all. The more wealth-conscious individuals arise, the more the collective atmosphere shifts from fear to faith, from scarcity to sufficiency. By cultivating wealth in your heart, you are not only transforming your life, you are participating in the healing of the world. For the world's poverty is but the shadow of humanity's inner belief in lack. When enough men and women awaken to abundance, the shadows will vanish, and prosperity will flow like a river through nations. So stand firm in this truth. As you think in your heart, so are you. Believe wealth, and wealth believes in you. Fear lack, and lack will fearlessly chase you. Choose today the consciousness you will carry, for the choice determines the destiny. Say once more, with unwavering faith, I am supplied in all ways. The riches of the infinite flow to me ceaselessly. I have more than enough. Let this be your song, your decree, your identity, for the law cannot fail, and the man who believes in abundance shall walk in abundance all the days of his life. There is a hidden architecture beneath every fortune, and it is not in the marketplace or in the boardroom, it is in the mind. Men may appear to amass wealth through shrewd deals, inheritance, or even corruption, but if you look deeper, you will see that all lasting prosperity rests upon a consciousness of abundance. Without it, wealth slips through the fingers like water through a sieve. With it, wealth accumulates and multiplies almost of its own accord. The subconscious mind is the treasurer of this architecture, and it builds according to the blueprints given it by thought and belief. You may look at your current circumstances and think they are permanent, but they are not. They are scaffolds erected by yesterday's thoughts. Change the blueprint in your heart today, and tomorrow the scaffolds will shift to reflect the new design. It is here that you must recognize the law of substitution. You cannot merely stop thinking of lack. You must replace it with thoughts of abundance. Nature abhors a vacuum. If you attempt to banish poverty thinking without installing prosperity thinking, the old thoughts will rush back to fill the void. Therefore, every time a thought of fear arises, substitute it with an affirmation of supply. When you catch yourself saying, I can't, replace it immediately with I can through the power of the infinite within me. When you feel anxiety about money, affirm I am one with divine abundance, and I am always provided for. Over time, this conscious substitution creates new grooves in the subconscious, and those grooves become rivers carrying you toward prosperity. Do not fight lack, replace it with wealth. One young engineer I knew illustrates this truth vividly. He was talented, diligent, but perpetually overlooked at work. His income stagnated, and he began to despair. When I spoke with him, I discovered that he constantly rehearsed phrases like, I'll never get ahead, and there's no room for me at the top. These were not mere complaints, they were commands impressed upon his subconscious. I instructed him to replace them with, I am advancing by divine right. Promotion is mine now. Success surrounds me. He repeated these affirmations with faith every morning and night, imagining himself already in the position he desired. Within 6 months he was promoted, and within a year he doubled his salary. Nothing mystical happened, only the law of belief at work. What he impressed, he expressed. Another key principle of wealth is gratitude. Gratitude is not passive politeness, it is magnetic power. When you give thanks for what you have, you affirm abundance, and the subconscious multiplies it. When you complain about what you lack, you affirm scarcity, and the subconscious diminishes what little you possess. Gratitude is therefore the great multiplier. Begin each day by thanking the infinite for the riches already in your life, no matter how small they may seem. Give thanks for the roof above you, the food before you, the opportunities around you. This spirit of thanksgiving impresses upon your subconscious that you are already rich, and by law riches will continue to flow. Gratitude opens the floodgates, ingratitude closes them. Consider also the law of circulation. Money, like blood, must flow to remain healthy. When circulation is blocked, the body weakens. When money is hoarded in fear, it stagnates and diminishes. But when it flows through giving, investing, creating, it multiplies. The subconscious responds to the spirit with which you release money. If you give grudgingly, it interprets it as loss, and more loss follows. But if you give joyfully, knowing that supply is infinite, it interprets it as abundance, and abundance returns multiplied. This is why ancient scripture says, "He that scattereth shall increase." The more freely you circulate wealth with wisdom, the more freely it circulates back to you. Fear tightens the hand and chokes supply. Faith opens the hand and multiplies it. Now let us inscribe another decree upon the heart. Say aloud with me, "I live in gratitude. I give freely and receive abundantly. Circulation blesses me and multiplies me." Write this affirmation down and repeat it until it becomes second nature. Let it be the rhythm of your giving, the tone of your receiving, the song of your soul. In doing so, you recondition your subconscious to expect multiplication, not diminishment. You create within yourself the atmosphere of prosperity, and the outer world cannot help but reflect it. It is vital, too, to realize that wealth is not measured only by money. Wealth is harmony, health, joy, love, peace, creativity. Money is but one channel through which abundance flows. If you pursue money while neglecting health, relationships, or inner peace, you are poor in truth. But if you cultivate abundance in all areas of life, money will naturally accompany the greater wealth of harmony. The subconscious responds not merely to specific desires, but to the overall vibration of your being. A man filled with resentment and greed may accumulate money for a time, but he is bankrupt in spirit, and sooner or later his wealth collapses. The man filled with love, peace, and goodwill radiates true wealth, and money gravitates to him as part of the larger harmony. Therefore, cultivate wholeness, not merely riches. Remember also that divine supply is infinite. The error of poverty consciousness is to believe there is not enough to go around, that one man's gain must be another's loss. But this is a lie. The source of wealth is the infinite, and its storehouse is inexhaustible. Ideas, opportunities, and resources are without limit. You do not take from another when you prosper. You draw from the limitless ocean of supply. The man who grasps this truth ceases to envy, ceases to compete, ceases to grasp desperately. He knows his supply is secure, not by chance or by theft, but by law. Affirm it now. My supply is infinite. The riches of the divine are mine now. Write it down and let your subconscious accept it as fact. At the heart of this teaching is the command to choose. You can choose fear, resentment, doubt, and poverty consciousness, and your subconscious will faithfully reproduce them. Or you can choose faith, gratitude, generosity, and abundance, and your subconscious will just as faithfully express them. The law is neutral. It serves whoever commands it. Therefore, choose this day the thoughts you will impress. Choose wisely, for your choice shapes your destiny. Wealth is not an accident, but a decision made in the heart, impressed upon the subconscious, expressed in the life. Let us seal this part with a decree of choice. Speak it with conviction. I choose abundance. I choose gratitude. I choose prosperity now. Feel the power of those words as they echo in your soul. Write them, repeat them, live them, until they shape the very structure of your subconscious. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Choose to think richly, and you will live richly. This is the law, and the law never fails. The subconscious mind is your silent partner in every transaction of life, and it is always working, day and night, to manifest what you impress upon it. Whether you are awake or asleep, it is ceaselessly building the structure of your tomorrow, based on the blueprints you handed it today. This is why you must become vigilant not only in your waking thoughts but also in what you feed your mind before sleep. The final images and emotions of the day sink most deeply into the subconscious and continue to reproduce themselves through the night. If you fall asleep rehearsing worry, you will rise to conditions that justify your worry. But if you fall asleep rehearsing abundance, gratitude, and prosperity, you will rise to conditions that reveal those truths. Every night is a sacred opportunity to plant the seeds of tomorrow. Plant wisely, and the harvest will astonish you. One of the most powerful practices is to create a nightly ritual of abundance. Before closing your eyes, affirm calmly and with feeling, I am prosperous in all my ways. Wealth flows to me in sleep and in waking. Divine supply is mine now. Then imagine yourself already living in the fullness of wealth, giving generously, rejoicing in freedom, walking in peace. Let these images sink in until you feel them as real. The subconscious will take them as present facts and begin to align reality to their vibration. Many men and women who practiced this simple discipline awoke to new opportunities, unexpected supply, and fresh inspiration. The reason is not mysterious. It is law. The subconscious reproduces the state most deeply impressed upon it, and sleep is the hour of greatest impression. You must also understand that the subconscious cannot distinguish between truth and falsehood. It only accepts what you present with conviction. If you continually dwell on fearful images of debt and scarcity, it will treat them as instructions and construct conditions to match. But if you continually dwell on visions of wealth, freedom, and generosity, it will construct conditions that mirror those visions. This is why imagination is the golden key. What you vividly imagine and emotionally feel, the subconscious treats as fact. And once it accepts it, expression is inevitable. This is the meaning of faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The unseen in your imagination becomes the seen on the screen of life. I recall a young woman who struggled for years with a poverty complex. No matter how hard she worked, she barely survived. When I asked about her nightly habits, she confessed that she always fell asleep worrying about bills and rehearsing her fears. I told her to reverse the pattern. Each night she was to thank God for supply, affirm wealth, and visualize herself living freely. Within 3 months, her entire situation shifted. She received a better job, her debts were resolved, and she entered a new season of peace. What had changed? Not the economy, not her effort, but the image impressed upon her subconscious. The law is impartial. It gives back what you plant. Change the seed and you change the harvest. Do not think for a moment that prosperity is limited to a chosen few. Prosperity is the divine birthright of every man and woman. The infinite life principle does not withhold supply. It flows ceaselessly like a river. The only obstruction is in your own mind. Fear, resentment, self-doubt, these are the rocks and debris that block the current. Remove them through affirmation, forgiveness, and faith, and the river of abundance will flow freely once more. You do not create wealth, you channel it. The supply already exists. Your task is only to open the channel within by believing it is so. Then the current of divine riches rushes in, filling every area of life with harmony. Another powerful key to prosperity is to claim your desires as already done. Do not beg or plead with God, for begging affirms lack. Instead, give thanks that it is already fulfilled. Say with confidence, thank you, Father, for my prosperity now. Thank you for supply now. Thank you for abundance now. Gratitude in advance is faith in action. It convinces the subconscious that the end has already been reached, and the subconscious, faithful to its law, expresses that end. Do not postpone your joy until riches appear. Rejoice now, and riches will appear to match your rejoicing. To live in the vibration of fulfillment before it manifests is to magnetize the very conditions that bring it forth. Let us affirm together now. Say with me, I am prosperous in all my ways. Wealth flows to me in sleep and in waking. Divine supply is mine now. Write it on your paper. Repeat it until it becomes the song of your soul. Each time you speak it with feeling, you are etching it deeper into the mind that never forgets, never argues, never resists. And what is etched there will soon be engraved in the circumstances of your life. Remember always, what is impressed is expressed. Never tire of repeating it, for repetition is the mother of belief, and belief is the mother of manifestation. The man who grasps this truth ceases to envy or compete, for he knows that his supply is within him, and cannot be withheld by others. He does not fear loss, for he knows that what flows from the infinite is inexhaustible. He does not beg for opportunities, for he knows that his inner state attracts them without fail. He walks with quiet confidence, serene in the knowledge that abundance is his essence. This is the dignity of wealth consciousness. It does not strut or boast, nor does it tremble or crave. It rests in the certainty of divine law, and from that certainty flows the effortless magnetism of true prosperity. So tonight when you lie down to sleep, do not surrender your mind to fear or worry. Take command. Plant the seed of wealth. Affirm abundance. Visualize prosperity. Fall asleep in thanksgiving. And as you do, the subconscious will work for you tirelessly and faithfully until the dream in your heart becomes the reality in your life. Say it once more before we close. I am prosperous in all my ways. Wealth flows to me in sleep and in waking. Divine supply is mine now. Let this truth echo through your soul, and the world will soon echo it back to you. Wealth is not found in frantic striving, nor is it hidden in the hands of a chosen few. It is born in the silence of your own conviction. The man who chases money with desperation repels it, but the man who inwardly knows himself to be abundant attracts it without struggle. This is the paradox of prosperity. It comes not to those who beg, but to those who assume. When you carry yourself as one already supplied, the world mirrors that posture. When you imagine yourself a beggar, the world confirms your begging. The subconscious is always listening, always translating your innermost sense of self into the circumstances of your life. This is why the ancient truth declares, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It is the heart consciousness that rules, not the fleeting words of the lips. Your outer world is simply the echo of your inner decree. Understand this clearly. Money is not the source of wealth, but the symbol of wealth. The true source is the infinite supply within you, and money is but one of the channels through which it flows. To fixate on money alone is to mistake the symbol for the source. When you align with the source, channels open naturally, sometimes as money, sometimes as opportunities, sometimes as ideas, sometimes as unexpected gifts. The man who grasps this truth never fears the closing of one door, for he knows the supply is infinite, and new doors will always open. But the man who clings to money as if it were his lifeblood suffers constant fear, for he believes that if the channel dries, his life collapses. Anchor yourself in the source, not the symbol, and you will never fear lack again. One businessman told me that he constantly lived in anxiety, fearing that his company would collapse. Despite his material success, he was tormented by the thought of ruin. I reminded him that his subconscious was obeying the inner blueprint of fear, and that sooner or later conditions would reflect it. I instructed him to daily affirm, I am rooted in infinite supply. Divine wisdom guides my business. Prosperity flows freely to me. He began to visualize his company expanding, serving more people, and operating with divine order. Slowly his fear subsided, and with it his business stabilized and grew beyond his expectations. The change was not in the economy but in his consciousness. He ceased to trust in appearances and trusted instead in the infinite within him. The law never fails. You must also confront the hidden guilt that blocks wealth. Many carry subconscious beliefs that money is evil, that wealth corrupts, that riches are unspiritual. These ideas, absorbed from culture or childhood, act as silent saboteurs. You may consciously desire prosperity, but if you subconsciously believe it is wrong, you will repel it. Yet Scripture itself says, "It is the Lord thy God that giveth thee power to get wealth." Wealth is not evil, it is energy. It takes on the character of the one who wields it. In the hands of the selfish, it magnifies selfishness. In the hands of the wise, it multiplies good. To reject wealth is to reject the tools through which you can bless others. The wise man releases guilt and embraces prosperity as divine stewardship. He says within, I am worthy of abundance. Wealth is holy when used in love, and the subconscious hearing this decree makes it so. Forgiveness too is a key to prosperity. Resentment is poverty of the soul, and the subconscious expresses it in conditions of lack. When you harbor grudges, you block the flow of abundance. For resentment is a signal to the subconscious that you are unworthy of joy and increase. But when you forgive, you unclog the channel, and wealth rushes in once more. A woman once told me she had prayed for prosperity for years without result. When I asked her if she carried any resentments, she admitted she hated her former business partner, who had betrayed her. I told her plainly, until she released him in forgiveness, her prosperity would remain blocked. She began to affirm daily, I release him, I forgive him, I am free. Within weeks she noticed new clients, unexpected income, and fresh opportunities. Forgiveness had opened the gate of supply. Prosperity is never outside of you. It is always waiting on the inner release. Let us engrave another decree upon the mind. Speak it with me now. I am rooted in infinite supply. Wealth is holy when used in love. I forgive, I release, and I prosper. Write these words on your paper and repeat them until they burn in your subconscious as living truth. Each repetition erases fear, dissolves guilt, and opens the channel wider. Each word is a stroke of light upon the canvas of your destiny. Affirm them morning and night, and soon you will see their reflection in the theater of your life. What you plant in faith, you will harvest in form. Another vital truth is this: you are never competing for supply. Competition is born of fear, but creation is born of faith. When you believe that your good depends on defeating another, you declare to your subconscious that supply is limited, and your life will reflect that limitation with struggle, rivalry, and frustration. But when you believe that supply is infinite, you cease to compete and begin to create. You bless the success of others, knowing it diminishes you not at all. You move with quiet confidence, certain that your abundance is secure. This is the posture of the prosperous soul, calm, generous, unshaken by appearances. He does not scramble or grasp. He creates and attracts. And because he does not resist, life yields to him effortlessly. Say once more with conviction, I am rooted in infinite supply. Wealth is holy when used in love. I forgive, I release, and I prosper. Let this decree ring through your being until it becomes more real to you than any circumstance. For as you think in your heart, so is your life. The subconscious is impartial. It knows only what you impress upon it. Therefore impress only wealth, only love, only abundance. The world cannot resist the man who believes this way, for the world is but the reflection of his heart. The richest man in the world is not the one with the largest fortune in the bank, but the one who inwardly knows himself to be one with the infinite supply of God. For if all his possessions were stripped away, he could create them anew, because the wealth is not in the coins of the purse, but in the convictions of the heart. This is why you must cease measuring yourself by appearances. Appearances shift like shadows, but conviction is eternal. The true millionaire is the man whose subconscious is saturated with the idea of abundance, for from that inner treasury he can draw endlessly. The beggar who inherits a fortune but carries poverty in his heart will soon squander it. But the man who carries wealth within cannot be kept from it, no matter the setbacks, for he will recreate it again and again by law. This is why you must train yourself to think richly, even in small things. When you eat, give thanks for the invisible wealth of the universe that provided it. When you breathe, rejoice that the air is abundant and free. When you walk, affirm silently that every step carries you deeper into divine supply. These simple acknowledgments condition the subconscious to see life as overflowing, and life responds by overflowing into your circumstances. The man who complains at every turn is building walls of scarcity in his subconscious, and the world echoes back his complaint. But the man who blesses every detail is building pathways of abundance, and the world floods those pathways with supply. Gratitude is the language of the prosperous heart, and it translates into the currency of life. There is also the law of identification. Whatever you attach to the phrase I am, the subconscious accepts as your identity and expresses in form. When you say I am poor, you are claiming poverty as your essence, and the subconscious makes it real. When you say I am prosperous, you are claiming abundance as your essence, and the subconscious makes it real. This is why the words I am are sacred. They are the name of God within you. Never join them with lack. Never bind them to failure. Instead, join them with life, with love, with wealth. Say often, I am abundance. I am success. I am supply. These affirmations, repeated with faith, engrave a new identity in your subconscious. And once identity is changed, circumstances follow swiftly, for the outer must match the inner. A young man once came to me plagued by the constant thought, I am unlucky. Everywhere he went, he expected failure, and everywhere he went, failure greeted him. I told him that his misfortune was not a curse from fate, but the faithful obedience of his subconscious to the decree, I am unlucky. I instructed him to replace it with, I am divinely guided. I am a magnet for success. I am richly supplied. He repeated it day and night until it felt natural. Within a year, the tide of his life turned completely. He attracted opportunities, relationships, and abundance that astonished him. Nothing in the world had changed except the words he joined to I am. The law is precise. The subconscious obeys the command. And the command is whatever follows I am. Let us affirm together now. Speak it aloud. I am abundance. I am success. I am richly supplied. Write these words on your paper, and let them burn into your heart. Do not utter them casually. Say them as if they were carved into stone. Each repetition is a hammer stroke, shaping your inner identity. Each declaration is a seed that cannot fail to sprout. Do this faithfully, and soon the world will mirror your affirmation in opportunities, income, and increase. The wealth within will summon the wealth without, for the two are but reflections of the same law. Remember also that wealth requires direction. Money without wisdom can destroy, just as power without discipline corrupts. Therefore, always couple your prosperity consciousness with the affirmation of divine wisdom. Declare daily, infinite intelligence guides me in the use of wealth. I spend wisely, give generously, and grow continually. This safeguards your prosperity, ensuring that your riches do not become chains but instruments of freedom. Many have lost fortunes because they lack the wisdom to steward them. But when you unite wealth with wisdom, you create a foundation that cannot crumble. Prosperity sustained by divine guidance is eternal prosperity. There is a sacred balance to true wealth, to receive with gratitude, to use with wisdom, and to give with love. The subconscious responds not only to your affirmations of possession, but also to your intentions of circulation. If you affirm abundance but secretly fear generosity, you are still clinging to scarcity. But if you affirm abundance and rejoice in sharing, you are truly aligned with the infinite current, and that current will never fail you. The river that flows becomes fresh. The pool that hoards becomes stagnant. Therefore let wealth flow through you, not just to you. The subconscious will then enlarge your supply, for it sees you as a channel wide enough to carry the blessings of life. So let us seal this moment with a decree of identity and wisdom. Say it now with faith. I am abundance. I am success. I am richly supplied. Infinite intelligence guides me in the use of wealth. Write it boldly. Repeat it daily, and let it reprogram your subconscious until it becomes the atmosphere you breathe. For as you think in your heart, so is your life. Think richly, feel richly, live richly, and riches in all forms will surround you. The law is immutable. The subconscious is faithful, and the man who identifies himself with abundance will walk in abundance all his days. Wealth is not a matter of chance, but of consciousness. And consciousness is formed by the repeated impressions you allow to dominate your inner world. If you allow fear, doubt, and envy to dominate, the subconscious will construct a life that mirrors those vibrations. If you allow faith, gratitude, and expectancy to dominate, the subconscious will construct a life overflowing with opportunities and supply. You are never the victim of fortune. You are always the architect of belief. The world outside you is but a canvas upon which your subconscious paints, according to the images you have delivered to it. If the picture displeases you, do not curse the canvas. Change the brush, change the colors, change the hand that paints within. All wealth begins there. It is therefore essential to discipline the mind with consistency. Occasional affirmations cannot uproot years of habitual poverty thinking. Just as a field choked with weeds requires persistent cultivation, so does a subconscious cluttered with fear require persistent reprogramming. This is why daily repetition is indispensable. Every morning upon waking and every night before sleep, impress the mind with decrees of abundance. Speak them with feeling, see them as already true, and persist until they become second nature. Over time, the subconscious, which cannot resist the power of repeated suggestion, will accept them, and once accepted, expression is inevitable. Do not waver in the early days when nothing seems to change. The harvest is certain, but seeds take time to grow. Persist and the invisible will become visible. Another key to prosperity is the law of expectancy. You do not get what you idly wish for, you get what you expect. Wishing is weak, expectation is magnetic. When you expect wealth, you unconsciously prepare for it. You open to it, you create channels for it. When you expect lack, you unconsciously sabotage, repel, and close doors. The subconscious always delivers what you truly expect, for expectation is faith in action. Begin therefore to expect good at every turn. Expect opportunities, expect blessings, expect supply. Say within, something wonderful is on its way to me now. This posture of expectancy primes the subconscious to attract the very things you anticipate. Life rises or falls to the level of your expectation. I recall a man who lived in perpetual disappointment. He told me, nothing good ever happens to me. And indeed, nothing good ever did. His subconscious, hearing this decree, faithfully constructed a life that justified it. I instructed him to replace it with, I expect the best, and only the best comes to me. At first it felt unnatural, even absurd, but he persisted. Soon his inner atmosphere shifted, and with it his outer life. He met new associates, secured a better position, and experienced an ease he had never known. His life changed because his expectation changed. The law never fails. Expectation is the mold into which the substance of life flows. Change the mold and you change the form. Guard also against the subtle poison of comparison. To compare your wealth with another's is to confess that supply is limited, but the supply is infinite. There is no shortage in the divine. To envy another is to declare secretly, there is not enough for me, and the subconscious obedient to that belief makes it so. Instead, bless the prosperity you see. Rejoice in another's riches as evidence of abundance in circulation. Say within, that which I bless expands. I rejoice in his good, and I claim mine now. By doing this, you align yourself with the current of supply rather than against it. Comparison diminishes, blessing multiplies. Choose always the path of blessing. Let us anchor these truths in a living decree. Speak it aloud with me. I expect wealth. I expect opportunity. I rejoice in the prosperity of others, and I claim mine now. Write it down. Let it sink into your subconscious, and repeat it until it becomes a living conviction. For what you expect and bless, you attract and multiply. The subconscious is always responding to your dominant decree. Feed it expectancy, and it will deliver fulfillment. Feed it envy, and it will deliver emptiness. Choose wisely what you feed, for the harvest is inevitable. You must also cultivate an inner detachment from appearances. Wealth may not appear immediately, but appearances are only shadows. The reality is in the unseen. Faith is the ability to live as if it were already done, to treat the invisible as present. When you detach from appearances, you free the subconscious to work without interference. But when you obsess over the lack of evidence, you uproot the seed with doubt. Trust the process. Know that what you have impressed will be expressed. Let patience be your ally, for impatience is a confession of disbelief. The man who trusts can rest, and the man who rests will see his faith fulfilled. So let us seal this part with a decree of expectancy and blessing. Say it with conviction. I expect wealth. I expect opportunity. I rejoice in the prosperity of others, and I claim mine now. Write it on your paper and repeat it daily until it becomes the atmosphere of your soul. For as you think in your heart, so is your life. Expect richly, bless richly, and you will live richly. This is the law, eternal and unfailing. And the man who expects abundance with conviction will never be disappointed, for life cannot withhold what the heart has already claimed. We have come now to the summit of this truth, that the world you live in tomorrow is being built this very moment by the thoughts and feelings you harbor in your heart. The subconscious is not idle. It is the ceaseless builder of form. It takes no holidays, no pauses, no excuses. It listens only to the dominant belief impressed upon it, and it reproduces that belief in exact detail. If you hold wealth in your heart, you will live in wealth. If you hold poverty in your heart, you will live in poverty. The law is impartial. It serves saint and sinner alike. It asks no questions. It only obeys. This is why your greatest work is not in the pursuit of riches outside, but in the cultivation of riches within. Change the inner decree, and the outer world cannot help but follow. Wealth consciousness is not arrogance. It is not boasting or vanity. It is the serene knowing that abundance is your divine birthright. It is the quiet confidence that supply is always present, regardless of appearances. It is the refusal to let fear, doubt, or resentment corrupt your inner sanctuary. The truly wealthy man does not need to shout his riches. He carries them in silence, and the world responds with reflection. This consciousness cannot be shaken by the rise and fall of markets, for its roots are in the infinite. When you know this, you cease to chase shadows and begin to live in the substance of truth. You no longer ask, will I be provided for? You declare, I am already provided for. To cultivate this state, you must live as though it were already true. Walk with the posture of one who is supplied. Speak with the tone of one who is abundant. Act with the generosity of one who has more than enough. These outward behaviors reinforce the inner belief, and the subconscious takes them as evidence. It then multiplies them, creating conditions to sustain the image you have lived into. The man who plays the part of wealth in faith soon becomes the reality of wealth. The world will say he is lucky, but he will know that he simply lived by law. He thought it, he felt it, he acted it, and life mirrored it back without fail. Another key to sealing wealth consciousness is service. Wealth is not hoarded. It is circulated through the giving of value. Every act of service, every expression of talent, every gift of creativity is a channel through which wealth flows. The man who enriches others cannot remain poor, for he is aligning with the law of circulation. The subconscious sees his life as a channel wide enough to carry blessings, and it pours more into him that more may flow out. This is why Jesus said, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." True giving is not depletion, it is multiplication. To give wisely is to invite the flood of abundance. Let us affirm together now, and let these words be the seal upon all we have spoken. I live in the consciousness of wealth. I walk in abundance. I give freely. I receive abundantly. I serve joyfully. Infinite supply is mine now. Write these words boldly, repeat them daily, and let them saturate your subconscious until they become your identity. Do not merely recite them with the lips. Feel them as true, act them as true, live them as true. For once the subconscious accepts them, the expression is inevitable. The decree becomes destiny. The law cannot fail. There is no man beyond redemption of poverty thinking. No matter how long you have suffered, no matter how deep your fear, the moment you impress a new belief upon the subconscious, the tide begins to turn. It may be gradual or sudden, but it will come, as surely as the dawn follows night. Do not despise small beginnings, for every seed contains the harvest. Do not despair at past failures, for the subconscious does not dwell on the past. It only acts on the present impression. Begin anew this moment, plant new seeds now, declare new decrees now, and life, faithful servant that it is, will rebuild your world in harmony with the wealth you have chosen to believe. Imagine what life becomes when this truth is fully embraced. Anxiety dissolves, for fear of lack has no place in a heart anchored to the infinite. Envy fades, for you know that another's prosperity is evidence of the same supply available to you. Gratitude blossoms, for every detail of life becomes a reminder of abundance. Generosity flows, for you trust that giving is never loss but increase, and prosperity in every form surrounds you, not as a fragile possession, but as a natural atmosphere. This is the life of the man who thinks richly in his heart. This is the destiny of the soul who aligns with law. This is the unshakable promise of divine abundance. So let us seal this journey with the final decree, spoken not as a hope, but as a fact. Say it now with conviction. I live in the consciousness of wealth. I walk in abundance. I give freely. I receive abundantly. I serve joyfully. Infinite supply is mine now. Let these words echo beyond this moment, into the chambers of your subconscious, into the very structure of your being, and let them shape your life henceforth. For as a man thinketh in his heart of wealth, so is he. And the man who believes this truth shall walk in prosperity all the days of his life.